This is day 495 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. I'd like to sponsor upcoming share or more. The Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Shin Yud Beis, Sif Ches, Siman Shin Yud Gimel, Sif Daled. And we're still talking about cover up Rios, going to the bathroom on Shabbos, etc. Don't take a clump of dirt to wipe yourself. It's not suitable for wiping because it's going to crumble. The Sharatiyum says that some Rishonim hold that the prohibition is because it's likely to crumble, and there's therefore a possibility of the prohibition of tchina, of grinding involved. And the halacha writes that if it's a hard clump like stones, which is not going to crumble, that's okay. The Arukh HaShulchan goes on and says, not allowed to use pottery to wipe yourself even on a weekday because it's dangerous. It can have a sharp edge. It should not wreak some damage in the anus. You had in front of you on Shabbos a stone, but you had smooth handles of a pottery vessel. They came to Chalokim Haim, since they're smooth, there is no issue of sakana. You can wipe yourself with the handle of the pottery, which in itself is not mukta because even though it's a broken handle, you can use it to cover other vessels. Way back when, even though there's a problem of shofim, sorcery, and witchcraft being done when somebody wipes with cheres. On Shabbos we jettison those issues of shofim, and it's better than a stone which is not suitable for anything. If you had in front of you a stone and grass, you should use the grass if it is soft, if it's moist. If it's dry grass, you can't use it to wipe because they become sharp and they will cut the flesh. Also we have the issue of something which fire can be, which is combustible, which we saw at the beginning of the Siman, is something where the Gemara says you're not supposed to do it. Test. But the Mekanchim b'Shabbos v'asavim lachim afilim mechubarim. You can use moist grass even if it's still connected to the ground. Shem arukim, if they're long enough, shechol kanech b'amad olim mechubarim. Just picturing that is fascinating. If you can use them to wipe yourself while they're still connected to the ground because they're so long. Mashal see them long, you don't move them. Meaning they shouldn't pluck them from the ground. It's a cliche because it's prohibition of plucking, which is a lot of harvesting. Muktzah when they're still connected around. How can you use them to wipe? Now to move muktzah, even part of a muktzah now allowed to move. It says in the brackets, even though they don't see muktzah. I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to. Anyway, you should know that this is the case. Also, you're not allowed to go up in a tree. Because you might go up and break off branches. It's not because of muktzah. Oh, I see. In other words, my brother says the issue is muktzah. Arukh HaShulchan says not muktzah, because even though it's connected to the ground, it doesn't make a muktzah. The whole issue is shema yitlosh. Just like by a tree, the tree is not muktzah. The issue is shema yitlosh, right? The acharat lishak shenilu Shabbos have a muktzah. If you sever it from the ground on Shabbos, then of course it becomes muktzah. Not when they are still connected. And the prohibition of using something which is mechuber lekalka, so it's still connected to the ground, doesn't apply here. Only goes to that by a tree, but lo b'yerik, not by a vegetable, or in this case grass. Moshe's bar simin shin lan vav b'siyata dishmaya. Yud, if you needed to go to the bathroom and you were constipated, That the cure for that is to massage the anus. You massage it with a stone, and the opening opens up. You shouldn't do it on Shabbos. We do it on a weekday. They hold the stone in the entire hand. Because evidently then it's like it's going to cut off the hairs in the anus. It's going to move the hair there. Even though by pottery you're not concerned with this, that's because if you grab yourself with pottery, it's not necessarily going to happen. But if you're using this stone and you're using it specifically in order to massage that place, then that's much more likely. It's not just it's a psik reisha. Ella, so what are you supposed to do? You have to do it indirectly. Or rather with the shino, I should say. You hold the stone with your two fingers, or like that, I'm not sure. And you massage. Mishmur adds the word benachas, massage gently. I guess that's some metal tool which you use. You also should only hold it with your two fingers. Plus it says now let's go to Shusarabim with this barza. I feel guf, even if it's all pushed into the body. Since you put it inside the rectum in order to take it out again, it's a burden. Most of the food just like you carry it on your mouth. So that's the way you normally would take it out. And it's even forbidden to do this in a caramelist. The Mishabura Sharatzian adds that it's not necessarily because you too frequently taking it out, but the main thing is something which you normally do take out, regardless of the frequency. I think Arukh HaShulchan would agree with that. Near b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to defecate in a field which is near. But that means that they already plowed it. It's about to be planted. So we're afraid they're going to come to smooth out holes. The where you're going to take a stone from a place where it's causing a hump in the ground, put it into a hole. That's in your own field. In your friend's field, you're not allowed to do this even on a weekday. Because you are pressing with your feet on his freshly plowed ground, which ruins it. And it seems like that's more of a Choshen Mishpat issue than a Shabbos issue. Obviously, it's still been a weekday. You have large stones that they make them as if they're a hollow seat, in other words, in the form of what we see as toilets today. And you sit on them in the fields. A place which is designated to be a bathroom, such as there were customers at their time. You're allowed to adjust the stones to sit on Shabbos. Mishabur says that some say specifically if the stones are already designated for this purpose. If not, the Isser Muktzah is not permitted for this purpose. But the Arukh HaShulchan is not so much concerned with Muktzah. He says, even though it seems like a temporary building, right? In other words, you're building that toilet out of the stones. Chazal did not forbid this because of the Kavod Abrios issue. It can mean oel also, but to make like an oel, which I guess means to put a stone on top, which is wide enough to consider oel, that's also. Mishabura says that Eliyahu Rabbah and Maimar Mordechai actually matter this. Interesting. There's a discussion of Takanas Yeshua in terms of what you can use in order to wipe yourself when you're in your friend's field. Shin Yud Gimel. Dine Avos Melachos Shabayna B'Soitzer Makar Patish. The laws of building and destroying and finishing up, literally banging with the hammer, finishing up a process. The Dine Tiltul Deles and halachas of carrying a door, v'chalon, or a window, v'amanul, or a lock, b'Shabbos, and Aleph, haboneh. We're going to where? To Talmud, yeah. Okay. Haboneh me'avos melachos. Construction is one of the avos melachos. Because if you shine per klagada mabinya b'mishkan, where they build the mishkan, shenostin kloshim al gabi adonim, they would put the beams on top of the silver bases. The beams were covered with gold, and they put it on top of the silver bases, in which they would stand and be solid. But part of the Lola Shalai, so Gemara has, it was not a temporary thing. Sheilam do because they didn't stand there forever, permanently. Sheichem nesim chayim nesim, always camping and traveling, camping and traveling. Basic in the Gemara concludes, Adamra binyan l'shah have a binyan. Then from here, Yerushalmi says that binyan l'shah have a binyan. If you build for a temporary purpose, it's still binyan. Binyan outside have a binyan. If you build indirect, it's still binyan. Pisham mefoshim. After Loha have a binyan gomor, even though it's not true binyan because it's not permanent. Arukh HaShulchan says, I think this is the pshat. The stam binyan who the funnels im gag. Normally, building is walls with a ceiling, with a roof. Kad shamanu the apolo gag have a binyan. Here we say that even without a roof, it's building, because in the Mishkan there was no roof. There was no roof on the crushing, but rather just tent curtains, tent panels. And all Rashi holds, Shabbos that you can't have an all unless you have a true roof. Even those who argue with him, they only argue where, in the case of a mechitza, which is matir, in other words, such as a mechitza, which you may have make a shul between men and women, it's matir there to daven there. That's the only case where it would be considered to be building even without a roof. Of all having grower in the binyan, so the an OL is a I don't know what he means by grower binyan, but Moshe's bar sham. I guess that since it's I think it means derivative of binyan, so therefore it should also have to have a roof. The binyan gamin outside have a binyan. So this going to tell us that also building on the side is also considered to be building. I guess, and then perhaps it's a specific case in Mishkan. So it's teaching us that even something is placed on top of another thing. Klomar, it means to say the building is only when you attach something to the ground. Now, Mechubarim is not really the case with Adonim, but meaning that it would start from the ground, because here the Adonim sit on the ground and the Krushim sit on the Adonim. They want to prove even that binyan on top of vessels is binyan. Because the logic is that the Adonim were considered to be like Kalim. This they rejected. The Adonim are like the ground, the low Kalim are not like Kalim and Sham. Arukh HaShulchan says, to me it seems halacha that building on top of Kalim, the binyan gomer hava binyan. It's considered to be true binyan. Shegam came out to the kama and binyan mekalim, because by Kalim themselves, even though normally say in binyan mekalim, come binyan gomer hava binyan. But if you're truly building a keli, which was obviously something which you're going to see in Shin Yudalet, much inspired with Shin Yudalet, l'chol came binyan shal gabe keli, and certainly if you're building on top of keli, ach shelo binyan gomer lo have a binyan. But if it's not true binyan, that's not true. I'm sorry. It's not true building. Lo have a binyan. Okay, it sounds like it's pashut. What's he saying there seems to basically be just reiterating the flip side, iterating the flip side. Even how much this binyan, the way I remember that the Yerushalmi says that that since they were B'chayna Al Pi Hashem and they were Nosei Al Pi Hashem, so it was permanent. So I don't know here how this became Doraisa, Binyan L'Shah, Binyan Minatzad. Not sure exactly what they're saying here, but what the Arukh HaShulchan is saying. But let's see base, because he says I ain't see base. Shalcham in Mishnah. Chacham tells the Mishnah. Habona kan yivnei chayev. How much should a builder? How much buildings does a builder build in order to be liable? Habona koshu. There's no minimum shear as small as whatever's in a small structure. Klamash ain't this shear. But time reason she came by shishul nekem bebir no shlof a balbus has a hole in his beautiful building. Makir katan shaba, and he is concerned with the small hole. So Slamo, he's going to seal it up, and that's it for building. Came by Mishkan, Shinofalo Talas, not a neck of Katon. So the Mishkan, when the boards, the beams, would be attacked by a worm and have a tiny hole, they would drip into it lead, molten lead, and with Slamo and close up the gap. Therefore, somebody who puts a stone in place, even without mortar, on the ground, but he puts it in place in a specific way, he's chayev because of b'nei. Klomar shemashiva inside the toe. It means he puts a stone in and he adjusts it. Achmis the sheba karkis sort of binyan to the point that it is sitting properly in the floor of the foundation of the building. And solid on the ground, but even though you didn't put on cement. Have a bona kosher b'chayev. That's also to the bona and your chayev. To Tmiyani Shlomo Tzasi Barambam Perikut Dinzeh. Why does Rambam mention this? Nearly the Rambam Farish Magamar the Loka Rashi. What we said now is like Rashi. Rambam holds differently, according to Arukh HaShulchan. Amar Shmuel Mitzadis Emet Chayev. Says that Shmuel says if you adjust the stone properly in the ground, you're Chayev. Makshal of the Gemara asks, Umesi Klasa Binyani Hava. And the Gemara then concludes that there are three ways of building. Tata, the bottom of a wall, Mitzia, the middle of the wall, Ela, on the top of the wall. Tata, boy, Tzuli, Afra. The bottom wall requires adjusting and requires dirt, but not cement. Mitzia, the middle of the wall, boy, Namitina, also requires cement. Eloi, and the top of the wall, Banacha Ba'ama, or just to put it down there. Pirish Rashi, the name of the Shmuel, Kidakai Kai. So according to Rashi, the statement of Shmuel remains intact. The B'tzir Chai, if you adjust in the ground, you're liable. Zeshmat Tzidudei V'Afra, that which it says adjusting in the ground and putting in dirt. Perish Rashi, of course, Seviv Lo Tomcho. You're adjusting the dirt around the stone in order to support it. By Tzidudei, and that's how you're putting it sideways and adjusting it. Amram first the Markel Shmuel, but the Ram holds more as rejecting Shmuel. Utzir B'Vad Lo Mechayiv, and by adjusting it in the ground, you're not chayiv. Actually, you seem olav afar, until you put dirt on it. And it's buried under the dirt. For being a garment, that's complete binyan. Ben circle has kiro, and therefore he doesn't have to mention it because it's so obvious. That's why it writes in the halachic base that one person puts the stone and the other person puts the mortar, the cement. This is the person who puts the cement in. He's the one who's liable, and the brackets of Arukh HaShulchan says on display about the middle level of the wall. This the Arukh HaShulchan. I'm saying the Rambam. Arukh HaShulchan throws that in. It's a mitzvah in the middle of the wall. And the Rambam continues the nidbach elyon in the top layers. I feel that even if you took the stone and put it on top of the cement, in other words, in cement between the stones, you're chayiv kli akan l'shono. This is how we look. This is the top level. Kasavani writes that. So therefore, the according to Rambam, it's never enough just to adjust something in the ground. It's just that at the bottom level, you can bury it in dirt. That's really make a foundation by burying it in dirt. So therefore, once you do that, that's partially chayiv because it's buried on that level. Because of all, the Rambam also writes that Bonagar became potter. Somebody builds on top of Kalim was potter. Ayin Sham. Zem Yerushalmi Yushebein. This is from the Yerushalmi, which he brought. And here he explains what I was kind of stymieing me before. Kuvar behind the lab binyan gamur hu. This is not complete actual binyan. Alpha piece because of time, even though it says it's binyan, we come bechrech lo marken k'mosh kasavnu. The low griya mikalim atzim. No, I'm wrong about that. The lav. This is where we are. The lav binyan gamur hu. Even though it's not like true binyan. Ba'avish because of stam. And even though he wrote generically, nevertheless, you have to say that there is binyan on top of kalim. The low green kalim matzah, it's not even the kalim themselves. Brackets, he says here, Rambam Percha Beis says the ain't binyan kalim. Still, Sfir Lei, but Perakuli, also Perakuli, the is binyan kalim. There is binyan by kalim. The Vachiluk Mashka Savnu, Ben binyan gomer Eno gomer. So, I'm going back and forth here. So, if it's a binyan, the difference between binyan gomer, binyan eno gomer, of course, is by the kalim themselves. If it's a true construction of the kalim, then that's yesh binyan kalim. It's not a clean construction. Again, it's something that's going to explain to you in $1. Then ain't binyan kalim. Which because of Maga Mr. Shamalagim, which came because of a chodim ayin sham. That's the places. There's ratio boyne v'ayin b'sifiyut. So. The bottom line is that there is Baina B'Kalim, where it's true binyan. And Arukh HaShulchan seems to say that even where it's not complete binyan, but it's binyan agabe kalim, also it's going to be binyan, and that's the Pshat in the Yerushalmi. I think that's what the Arukh HaShulchan is saying. Gimel, Toldos Bona. What's the derivative of Bona? Because Abraham somebody who based the Shono. Habona Koshu Chayav, somebody who builds, no matter how small the shear, he's liable. Hamash Mekarga Babai is somebody who smooths the ground in the house where they used to have floors, of course. Spiel tell okay, such as he diminished the amount or smooth out a depression. His bana is liable. Toldos bana also okavua. A derivative of bona is making a permanent tent. So to somebody who makes a earthenware vessel, such as a oven, the chavis, and a jug, before they are burnt, which would be in a kiln where they are forged, which would be makav patish. It's bona and you're liable. So do somebody who makes cheese, which is bona. Yerushalmi says it's lush, but the Bible says it's bona. The only chayiv if you make cheese the size of a grogeres. Some say the zel rak mirabanan, this only mirabanan. This Mishnah says that. What is in any event the connection between megabin and bona? Any person, any way you're putting together part to part, the davi gakon, everything connects together. To the point that they become one object. I raise it to us bona, that's a derivative of bona. Somebody puts the handle of a plow into its wooden framework, I guess. There's a framework that holds the actual steel. I raise it to us bona. That's a permanent fixture, so that's the derivative of boina. So if you plug any wood in any wood, and it's a very strong plugging in, a bench talking about eitz. That's more whether you use the nail or did not use the nail, but the wood itself, actually it became one. It's derivative of boina, you're liable. You make a small hole in a chicken coop in order to give it air, so then so he says the light should come in, but I think it's actually the air. He's like as a bunny. Even though we have a principle that any opening which is not made to put in and go out, there should be two-way street. It's not a Pesach. He says it works that way as well. Das lachnis or vavir. It puts in or and avir. Brings in light and air. Velotia have a sirachon, and it takes out the stench of the chicken coop. Somebody puts back a door into a pit, into a dugout, or I believe it's a balcony. Chai mishum bain is live mishum bain, and mechain shabai is also the door of a house. Avalo shoshida teva mida because she's bar sim receive chabag, but not if it's the door of some sort of movable object, such as a movable closet or a cupboard.